July 4th, 2023 was the hottest day ever recorded in human history. But not really, because the next day after that was actually the hottest day in human history. And so on and so forth for the next 4 days. Up until yesterday, July 7th. Just the hottest days ever recorded ever within the last 100,000 years in recorded human history. So that's kind of hard to understand, hard to grasp, because you say, hottest day ever, how do they know that? How do they know what the temperature was like, the global, average temperature was like, say, 50,000 years ago or something like that? Well, they do know. They do know because they have various ways of dating the temperature, of estimating the temperature from that long ago. They use things like tree rings and ice cores from Antarctica and stuff like that in order to get a daily average temperature, global daily average temperature. So over this past July 4th weekend, it reached 17.18 Celsius, or 62.9 degrees Fahrenheit. That was the global daily average temperature. And you go, wow, that sounds really low. I thought they said this shit was hot. Well, remember, this is the global average. So you're taking sub-zero temperatures in Antarctica and in the Arctic and Siberia and shit like that, and you're averaging them out with temperatures in fucking the Sahara Desert. Shit like that. And you're getting this average. And 60 degrees, almost. I mean, 60 degrees is cool. It's not cold. It's pretty fucking high. If you needed more proof that climate change is real, like, this is it, man. It's happening now. I remember growing up, they always said that this was going to be something that will affect us in the future. Even when I was a kid, even in the 80s, when I was in grade school, they were talking about this shit. And I remember us reading science books talking about the average global temperature going up. And how one day we were going to have to do something about it. Well, that one day is here. It's been here for a while. I mean, I think it really started going fucking crazy around 2005. Is when, because I noticed it was still getting hot, it was still all that stuff, but it was still relatively fine all the way through the 90s. You still had things like hurricanes and fires and shit like that, but they weren't any different than any other year. And right around 2005 is when you started seeing dozens and dozens of hurricanes and named storms every single year. You started seeing giant wildfires that would just happen constantly, year after year after year. You started seeing floods and tornadoes. I mean, this past year has been one natural disaster after another. Just over and over and over again. Right now, currently, as of this week, as we're talking, there are what they call heat domes all over the southeast United States, where temperatures are over 100 degrees, in some places up to 120 degrees outside. In the shade. They take temperature in the shade. So that means you're in the shade, it's fucking 120 degrees. Who knows what it's like outside? And be cooking bacon and shit on the sidewalk there. What exactly is a heat dome? So what happened, right, is that the temperature has changed so much that it changed the direction of the jet streams. So the jet streams used to be relatively sort of stable, and they're not stable anymore. The jet streams are now wildly flying all over the place. Well, what this does is that it traps pockets of heat and cold all around the country. So now there's this what's called a dome, where the hot air that would normally be flowing around the world is stuck in one area. And it's just hot air that just keeps getting hotter and hotter. That's basically what a heat dome is, in so many words. I mean, that's a very layman's explanation of it. I'm not a scientist, but still, Essentially, in so many, in so many words, that's what a heat dome is. And these have been happening here and there. There was one last year in Northern Europe, like in fucking Ireland, in like England, and these people were just dropping dead there because a country that normally rains and is cold and rains every day suddenly getting 120-degree fucking heat. People can't handle that shit over there. Like, people die in England when like the temperature hits 80 degrees. They like die. 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So 120, it's like fucking national disaster over there, right? That happened here a couple years back. I remember 2017. There was a fucking heat dome. Luckily, it only lasted a few days. And in my neighborhood in Los Angeles, it was a fucking 120 degrees outside. It was insane. Currently, right now, the heat domes are over Texas, Louisiana, and parts of Mexico. I think there's something like 16 people in Texas have died of like heat stroke. It's still not over, so we don't have like actual full numbers just yet. Right now, also, there are heat domes in India. Temperatures are reaching 120 degrees. A lot of these places there's poor people, marginalized people. They don't have access to things like air conditioning, so they're pretty much fucked. There's also another heat dome over southern Europe, North Africa, Morocco, and Algeria. Temperatures have reached 115 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 45 degrees Celsius. This is currently, right now, as we speak, this is happening right now. Wildfires in Canada are basically consuming Canada right now. The largest and worst wildfire season in Canada's recorded history is occurring right now. 11 provinces and territories have been affected so far, with over 928,358 hectares of land, which comes out to around 22 million acres if you're using the old-fashioned English wacky fucking measurements like we do in the States. Think about that. 8 million hectares of land burned in 11 fucking provinces and territories there. The largest being in Alberta, Nova Scotia, Ontario, and Quebec. Currently, in Alberta, there were some 745 different wildfires this season. In Nova Scotia, there were 176 different wildfires, with over 200 homes destroyed. Was not able to find out how many buildings or homes were destroyed in Alberta, but I'm assuming with 745 different wildfires, it was probably a shitload. Ontario and Quebec had some 211 different wildfires. Total, all of them, some 155,856 people had to be evacuated due to these wildfires. This has also resulted in some of the worst air quality ever in these areas from all of the smoke and the heat. Remember, it doesn't just stay over the wildfires either. For example, New York City right now has some of the worst air quality ever recorded in that area because of all of the smoke drifting over from the Canadian wildfires. So that's no bueno. That just happened. God, that's still ongoing right now. That started in March and really ramped up through June, and there's actually still fires burning as we speak in Canada. Of course, California had another wildfire season this year. Wasn't the biggest this year, but they seem to be pretty intense. Some 2,584 fires this year in California. Burned some 3,500 hectares. This wasn't as bad as the 2018 fire season, which completely just fucking burned down the entire goddamn state. That was the one in 2018 where it had almost 2 million acres of forest burn That's the one where entire towns were burning down. There was a town called Paradise. The entire town, like, it was something like, well, not the entire town, but something like 80% of the buildings in this town were destroyed. Like, destroyed from a fire. Like, fucking town is like, I think they just started rebuilding it, like, a year ago. Shit's fucking crazy. That resulted in $26 billion of damage all throughout California. And I remember this well. I had to evacuate because the fire came within fucking 20 feet of my house. That shit was not funny. Thankfully, they saved my house. Not a good feeling, folks. Not, leaving, not knowing if everything you own is going to be gone when you come back. Not a good feeling at all. There are also wildfires burning currently right now in Serbia, Chile, and Kazakhstan. So, not just left up to us North Americans here, but this is a thing that's happening all around the entire world. Wildfires burning everywhere. I think last year, Eastern Europe had like a huge wildfire season too. It's like forests are fucking burning down like crazy. Let's not forget the flooding. The northeastern United States right now, New York, Vermont, some other places, are bracing for expected flooding due to excessive rainfall. It's funny how in one area you got wildfires and then just move over a few miles in that direction and there's too much rain. There was also heavy flooding this year in Chile. This past winter in California, Nevada, Arizona, and Utah, we had excessive flooding, massive snowfall, massive snowfall, and heavy rains which led to excessive flooding. This was due to what they called atmospheric rivers, which basically are storms, but they call them atmospheric rivers now. I don't really know what that term is all about. But I'm assuming they're basically just rainstorms and snowstorms. Really, really heavy rainstorms and snowstorms. This resulted in 22 deaths, loss of power to 200,000 homes, and 34,000 people having to evacuate. That was just this past winter in California. One season. I mean, are we going to hit the point where that shit happens every year? Right? That even happened here where I live in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is pretty dry most of the time. It rains here like maybe 1 week out of the year it'll rain. Not this year. This year it rained for like 3 months straight. And we even had flood warnings in Los Angeles, for fuck's sake. Like, Los Angeles is like borderline desert. It like barely ever fucking rains here. But yeah, that's creepy shit. I mean, that's the climate changing, all right. Where formerly arid desert places are getting a shitload of rain. Other places like Siberia, where it should be snowing, there's fucking forest fires going on. I mean, sounds like the very definition of climate change to me. There were also floods earlier this year in the Philippines, in Brazil, in the Congo, in Malawi, Colombia, and Mexico. So, all over the world, massive floods. Places that would normally not be flooding are getting floods. Here's another thing that you don't usually think about when you think about climate change: tornadoes. This past March 24th, the week of March 24th to the 27th, in the lower Mississippi River Valley, total of 33 tornadoes formed. Caused $1.9 billion in damage, killed 23 people, injured 236. That's pretty fucking crazy. 33 tornadoes in like 3 days. Well, hang on to your hats, people, because 2 days later, the shit happened again. On March 31st to April 1st, over 2 days, there were 145 tornadoes hit the United States. Mostly in the Midwestern, Southern, and Eastern states. resulted in 26 known fatalities, 211 injuries, and $4.3 billion worth of damage. They say known fatalities, right? Because every time one of these things happen, people die and they never find them. That's another thing you got to keep in mind. Every time there's a wildfire like this and homes burn down, every time there's a giant fucking rash of multiple tornadoes breaking out over a week, something like that, people disappear. People disappear and you don't know what happened to them. And it's like you don't find their remains. They get washed away. They get burned to a crisp. They disappear somewhere. Whatever. And you don't know, is this person really dead? We don't know. Maybe they just left. Maybe they bailed, went to go live with their grandma somewhere, and nobody knows where they are. That's the thing, folks, is that so it's like, it's just an estimate. When they say 26 people died, it could be way more than that. It could be way less. You know, usually way the hell more. It's just an estimate. Who knows how many people actually really died in 2018 with all those wildfires. Same thing in Australia, back in the Australian wildfire season in 2020 and 2021. That was like millions upon millions of acres died. You know, koalas are like endangered now because of that. You know, koalas were not endangered prior to that wildfire season. They are now. They are now because fucking the entire forest burned down. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Despite all of this, the asshole pundits out there are still on board with their fucking anti-climate change shit. Everywhere you go, it's like you go on Fox News, you go on News Nation, you go on Twitter. You know, Twitter is filled with right-wing fucking assholes now. Every single one of them, it's all climate change hoax and all this other shit. Taking advantage, you know, they're still making fun of fucking Greta Thunberg and all that stuff. You go to PragerU has like an entire playlist, a climate change denial playlist that they spread about, talking about all this stuff. Is solar panels really good for the planet? Are we really killing the planet? All this other shit. All this shit, as each day goes on, it becomes more and more apparent. Right. Here's the fucking thing that I saw here. I want to show this to you guys. This is from the Daily Wire. Man takes on woke ass idiots in New York City. Chants give us pizza or give us death. What is this about? New York City passed a law saying that places with coal or wood-fired pizza ovens have to like get rid of that shit because they pollute. Because it pollutes. Because burning raw coal is fucking like highly pollutes. When there's like no filters, just having like coal stacks and shit. Now, I don't even know why this is even a thing. Like, why does it fucking matter if your pizza shop has a wood-fired stove or whether you burn coal or whether it's electric or whatever? I mean, you're just baking a fucking pizza. What does it make the pizza taste different? If you're using coal versus fucking wood versus like gas or whatever, like who cares? It's fucking food, for fuck's sake. It's not like, I mean, you could make that argument if you're talking about like barbecue or something, but pizza? It's not like the smoke from the coal goes up and coats the pizza or some shit, right? But then this Twitter guy, some asshole on Twitter, went here, and this guy, I guess, is protesting. Let's go ahead and play this. This has 4.4 million views. This is the pizza guy in New York. Right. Who apparently, I guess, really loves his fucking pizza ovens so much that he felt that he had to go protest here at City Hall. Okay, I understand. Let's listen to what he's got to say.
The woke-ass idiots who run this city are doing everything in their power to destroy it. We have naked men with their titties bouncing around all over the city yesterday, in public, in front of children.
What does that have to do exactly with pizza ovens? Nothing. Nothing. Which, I think, you know, that just kind of goes to show that these guys, it's all about virtue signaling. This guy's here, okay, he's here to protest that this city ordinance saying that, okay, it's going to put some places out of business. Which it probably won't, but maybe it will. Maybe there's a restaurant that's on the verge, and just can't afford to update its ovens, they might close. I could totally understand that. But what does that have to do with trans people? Absolutely fucking nothing. Right? But why did that guy have to throw that in there? Because he's a bigoted asshole. Because that's all it is to these people, right? It has, like, the dude can't even stay on fucking subject. He's here to, like, protest pizza ovens, and he has to bitch and moan about trans people. He has to bitch and moan about how other people have freedom that he doesn't like. Maybe I'm not supposed to understand. Moving on.
We have the most violent, raging crime rate ever. We are being invaded by illegal immigrants who are being treated way better than our homeless veterans, our teachers, and first responder heroes who were fired, still not compensated because they didn't take the Fauci injection.
You notice how none of that shit has anything to do with pizza? None of it has anything to do with restaurants closing because they have to update their pizza ovens. And also, none of this shit's true. Nobody was fucking fired because they wouldn't take a vaccine. That's bullshit. That went to court. The vaccine mandate went to court and it got overturned. That was overturned. Okay. Now, the only people who were allowed to actually fire you, the government employees, no, that was overturned. Your company, your independent company, could fire you if you didn't take a vaccine. For example, if you were a nurse or a doctor and you worked in a hospital and you didn't get vaccinated, the hospital could fire you because they don't want you spreading your fucking germs around where vulnerable people are who could die. So that's bullshit. You notice how it's all virtue signaling. The entire right wing in this country, everything they fucking do is virtue signaling. But they don't have any policies. Let's continue.
Our city schools produce the dumbest kids, and the woke-ass punks who run New York City are afraid of pizza. The world used to respect New Yorkers as tough, thick-skinned, and gritty.
I like how he finally got to the fucking subject here. He went through all this unrelated bullshit that has nothing to do with anything, and then finally talking about pizza. It's like, okay, is this what you're here for? You here to talk about pizza? Or are you here to talk about all these other right-wing fucking virtue signal points? Right? Like, which one is it? What are you actually fucking protesting here? Are you protesting education? Right? Are you protesting trans people? Are you protesting fucking vaccine mandates? Or are you fucking protesting pizza ovens? Keep it on the goddamn subject. It's because it's all... it's like indistinguishable. It's all culture war shit to these people. It's all culture war shit. No actual solutions. They have no solutions at all for anything. Continuing.
Now we have become pussified. It's a damn shame. You heard of the Boston Tea Party? Well, this is the New York. This is the New York Pizza Party.
By the way, I just want to you notice there where he said we've become pussified. People used to say New Yorkers were gritty and strong, and now we're pussified. That is taken from a George Carlin comedy routine, where he talks about the pussification of the American male. It's from like 1993 or some shit like that. It's from in one of his HBO specials. He talks about the pussification of the American male, and the way he does it is through names. You know, he says something like, if I remember right, you know, we name our men, you know, our boys names like Todd and stuff like that. And we used to have names like Johnny and Vinny and George, and now they're named Todd and Terry and Bunny. And it's like, yeah, okay, it's funny, but it's a comedy routine. People have taken this comedy, because this is not the first time I've heard this pussification of the American male. People have taken this comedy routine and they think this shit's real. It's like, no, the reason why it's a comedy routine is because it's ridiculous sounding. Because it sounds stupid. Because it's something to laugh at. Because it's funny. No one is automatically a wimp because they're named Todd. Alright? That's just not true. Right? Or Terry. You know, people were named Terry before the fucking 1980s or whatever. Right? Or Tucker. That's another one that he makes fun of, is the word Tucker. right? It's like, no, no, it's the name Tucker that fucking George Carlin makes fun of, and it's like it's a fucking joke. It was literally a joke. It was written as a joke, and people have like the right wing has just embraced this fucking comedy routine, and they think this shit is real, and it's like, you fucking moron, you fucking idiot. This is like, stand up fucking comedy is not real, you goddamn fucking moron. I can't. I've heard it. I've just heard this so many times from so many fucking people. It has no basis in fucking reality. It's the stupidest fucking thing. It's just like, conservatives just do not have any original thoughts whatsoever at all. Like, all you have to do is just make like a marginally funny like HBO special, and you can control how these fucking people think. It blows me away.
Give us pizza or give us death.
All right, and then I think he goes and he starts throwing perfectly good pizza.
Give us pizza or give us death.
Perfectly good
Give us
pizza.
pizza
Why are you doing this?
or give us death.
Think about how many homeless people you could serve with that.
Give us pizza
You could feed with that.
or give us death.
I mean, I think is he at is this City Hall here?
Every small business. That's what this city keeps doing.
You notice that we're 1 minute and 56 seconds in. He finally said the thing that actually relates to his protest. You're destroying small businesses. Why didn't you lead with the small business thing? You notice he didn't lead with the small business thing. He led with all of this other fucking crap, talking about trans people and how schools are shitty and how, vaccine mandates and all this other bullshit and how we're pussies now. New Yorkers are pussies now. He led with all of this other unrelated crap that has nothing to do with his fucking protest. And then finally, after the whole thing's over and most people have lost interest, is like, oh, you're destroying small businesses. It's like, these people don't have just one fucking original thought in their heads at all. That's all I want. All I want is one original thought from a conservative. Do they have it? This is what we're dealing with, folks. Fuck this idiot. Let's get rid of this fucking moron. This is what we're dealing with, right? When you try to do the smallest thing to address climate change, this is what we end up dealing with. The tiniest fucking thing. Like getting rid of coal-fired pizza ovens, is that ultimately going to stop climate change? No. It will not stop climate change, but it is a piece of it because coal is extremely dirty and it puts tons of carbon in the fucking atmosphere. Same thing with wood. And yeah, outlawing this doesn't mean there won't be fucking wildfires in fucking Canada anymore. But you do what you can do, right? And that's really what we're reduced to at this point, because our politicians do not have the political will in order to address this. Joe Biden has passed probably the best climate change legislation in a generation. And what he passed is weak sauce. It's weak sauce. It's not going to solve climate change, right? There is no one law that will solve climate change. It's going to take way more than just the Green New Deal or signing on to the Paris Climate Accords or anything like that. It's going to take basically a reorganization of our society, right? It's going to take a reorganization of capitalism for sure. We're not going to just be able to just pollute like crazy when we create our throwaway plastic shit, unfortunately, anymore. And, we're not going to be able to just do shit like, truck in food from fucking all around the world, grow oranges in California and then truck them all the way to Florida, stuff like that, because we won't be able to if we're actually serious about doing something about climate change, which is The reason why we're not going to be able to beat it, I don't know if you guys know this, but we're not going to stop climate change. It's not stopping. It's not stopping. If we need to do shit about it, and the things we need to do, we're not doing, and we will not do. And even when you try to do the smallest things, the smallest little measures, like get rid of coal-fired pizza ovens, you get fucking crazy people like this coming out, throwing pizza at fucking City Hall. It's like, if he's going to react like that for this tiny, insignificant measure, how would this guy react when, say, we have to ban all trucking? Or we have to mandate, rather, that all trucks are electric. There you go. That's what would really happen. We wouldn't ban all trucking. That just wouldn't happen. But let's say mandate that all trucks are electric. There you go. Bam. Perfect. Or that we have to start... Here's another one. Mandate that all rails have to be, updated. Because we have to use rails to send shit around because we can't use trucks anymore. Like, something like that. That's would be a step that would actually make a difference. What do you think that guy would do? That guy would lose his fucking mind. There'd be like a revolution in the country. You know what? You know what a step would be that would actually make a difference? Here you go. No more gas cars. In 2030. Bam, the end. No more gas cars. That would be something that would actually matter. Do you think people are going to go along with that? How do you think the right wing would react? We say, okay, no more gasoline. Importation sale of gasoline is now banned. You have to buy an electric car. What do you think would people do? It'd be a revolution. there would be a civil war over that. People would go fucking nuts. If they're losing their minds over a report that gas stoves are bad, which they are, just a report. There was just a report that gas stoves are bad. There was no legislation attached to that. There was no policy attached to that. No one is coming to take away anybody's fucking gas stoves. Just a report that gas stoves were bad drove the right wing into a fucking foaming at the mouth frenzy. What do you think would happen if they said, okay, no more gasoline? If that's what we had to do, if they said, hey, if we ban gasoline, it cuts carbon emissions by this much, and et cetera, and we need to do it, they would go absolutely fucking crazy. So no, we're not going to stop it. You guys don't understand. Our only hope now is that we don't tip it so far that it results in the extinction of mankind. That's our only hope. Our only hope is that we somehow manage to grow enough food to feed enough people so that we don't go extinct. Because the next 30 years are going to be rough. It's going to be very rough. You think these disasters now are going to go away? Fuck no, they're not going away. They're going to get worse. They're going to get worse and worse and worse. And it's going to get hotter and hotter. And every year it's going to be like, this is the hottest day ever recorded. That's the hottest day ever recorded. One day the heat domes are never going to go away. And it will just be permanently 120 fucking degrees in certain places. And it'll be so goddamn hot that people can't live there anymore. Then you're going to get mass migrations all over the country. You think you think the immigrant crisis is bad now in Europe? You think it's bad now, the refugee crisis, for all the people coming from the Middle East because we fucking blew up the Middle East and now there's refugees coming to Europe? You think that's bad now? Wait till fucking it's 120 degrees permanently in northern Africa and the Middle East. And then you get not just thousands and hundreds of thousands of people a year, but you get millions of people a year migrating. Right? You think the problem at the U.S. southern border is bad now because we get 2 million people a year coming in asking for asylum? You think that's bad now? Wait till it's 20 million. All right? This is what's going to happen, and it's going to happen within our lifetimes because we're not doing anything about it. And we're not doing anything about it because the right wing in this fucking country doesn't have any policies, because everything they do is a fucking culture war shit in order to get outrage clicks. Like literally, fucking the outrage, like the outrage click model of like internet traffic is going to result in like the fucking extinction of mankind. I'm not even kidding. So that's what's going to happen, folks. Don't mean to end this one on a downer, but let's be realistic. Does it mean that you give up? No, of course not. You don't give up. You know, you get out there, you work for the people that will actually do something about this. You protest things, plant a tree. There's a thing that I saw this effort where these guys are using drones to try to plant, and they want to plant like something like 1 trillion trees over the next 5 years or something. And that will soak up enough carbon to hopefully, like, you know, keep us from tipping over the edge. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that could happen. Does it mean that we're going to stop it? I don't think we're going to stop it. I think if we're lucky, we might be able to keep millions of people from dying. But somehow I don't think that's going to happen. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.